Hello everyone. In our second video, we are going to learn how to do machine learning. In our previous video, we learned how to define machine learning. We understood what is AI, and then we understood the basics of machine learning. Now in this video, we are going to learn how to do machine learning. So let's proceed. Now, how do we do machine learning? To do machine learning, we have 6 steps. The first one is we have to select the algorithm, choose an algorithm. This is our first step. Then our next step is to select the features, feature selection. That is, we choose features which will capture the most important characteristics of the system. Important characteristics are selected, and those characteristics only we term as features. So this is our second step where we select the features. Our third step is we start building the model. How do we build the model? We build the model with the help of the training data. So the training data is supplied as input to our algorithm by which we build our model. So we use part of the label set to build the model. So this is our third step. Now the fourth step is we do cross validation. What is meant by cross validation is nothing but we do parameter optimization. So which means optimize the parameters using a second part of the label set to minimize the error rate. So when we train the model, that is when we train the model and when we build it, we do cross validation in order to minimize the error rate. This is our fourth step. And our fifth step is we test the built model. So using the remainder of the data set, what you call as test data, we try to assess the performance of the model that is built. So we validate and assess the performance of the tuned model. And finally, we apply. This is our sixth step. So these 6 steps help us to know how machine learning is to be done. Now, this is the same sequence that we need to follow when we talk about any kind of an application. Whenever we want to build a machine learning model for any application, this is the overview of steps, the generalized steps that we need to follow. So this is how we do machine learning. The next is coming to what are the different tasks machine learning can perform. See, machine learning can perform several tasks. Tasks such as classification, tasks such as clustering, tasks such as regression, tasks such as association analysis. So many things can be done by machine learning. See, classification is nothing but putting a particular data into a particular class. Say, for example, I'm getting input as animals. My input data is animals. So how do I classify them? All the cats will be going into one class, right? All the dogs into another class. All the elephants into another class. This is what is meant by classification. Clustering is grouping similar data items together. Data items which have similar characters will be grouped into what is called as a cluster. So this is what is meant by clustering. Now coming to what are the different types of machine learning. Now we have 3 main types of learning. One is called as supervised learning, the other one is unsupervised learning, and the third one is reinforcement learning. So we are just going to see what is what. We're not going to deep dive into the algorithms behind these learning techniques. We are just going to know what is meant by supervised, what is meant by unsupervised, and what is meant by reinforcement learning. See, supervised learning is nothing but it is a learning technique which is done with the help of a supervisor. See, if you look at the picture given here, this picture shows that this is supervised learning. Somebody is supervising and somebody is learning. So this is called as supervised learning. So what is meant by supervised learning in machine learning concept? It means the model that is being built in supervised learning will be labeled data. The data will be labeled. The training data with which the model is trained is labeled. That is called as supervised learning. Unsupervised learning is you look at the second picture shown here. Here there are lots of blocks put in front of the baby, and the baby is trying to group the blocks, or it is trying to place the blocks, and it is learning by itself, right? So it is trying to learn. So it is trying to learn on its own. So this is called as unsupervised learning, wherein the training data, if you want to talk in terms of technically, then the training data is unlabeled, whereas in supervised learning, the training data will be labeled data. Now, what is meant by reinforcement learning? Reinforcement learning is learning on its own, learning by themselves, and then trying to implement the concept. See, if you look at this, this is a mouse which is trying to go through the maze, and it is learning on its own to find its path, right? A very good example for reinforcement learning is the autonomous cars, the self-driving cars which are being tested today, are all examples of reinforcement learning. To achieve learning that is done on its own to achieve a certain goal, that is called as reinforcement learning. Now, coming to how do we do machine learning, the first step is you define a problem. Now, let's say I want to classify the animals that are being given. That is, I want my model to say, if I give a picture, it should say if it is a cat or it is a dog, right? So any image of a cat I give, my model should be capable of saying whether it is a cat. And if I give a picture of a dog, then my model that I build must be able to recognize that it is a dog. So this is my problem. So I have defined the problem. Now, how do we go about it in completing and developing a machine learning model? So what I need to do is, if I need to make my model to recognize a cat and a dog correctly, then I must train my model in such a way that it is able to recognize the cat and it is able to recognize the dog. That is, I must be able to give different data of cat, different pictures of cat and train my model with that, and different pictures of dog and train my model with that. So this is my problem which I have defined. Next is I have to find the data. Now, what is shown here in this slide is you have lots of pictures of cats and dogs that are given. So this is my training data. This is what I call as training data. And this is more specifically supervised learning, because I have labeled the data. Okay, this is all labeled data. So this, I say, this is a cat. Okay, this is also a cat. This is also a cat, and these are all dogs. So these are the training data that I give to the algorithm, so that the model which is being built is capable of recognizing. So when I find the data, right, before I give it to the model, I must clean the data. What do I mean by cleaning? I remove all unwanted information or information in the form of, if it's going to be a picture, all the unwanted pixels will be removed, and if it is any data that is being given, all the unwanted elements will be removed, attributes will be removed, and the data will be cleaned. So if this is going to be my training data, okay, so this slide that I have shown here, this is going to be my training data, and when I say data cleaning, this is how I will get. That is, all my data is now ready, and all of them are arranged and cleaned in a similar manner. After I clean the data, the next step is I have to choose a model. I choose a model based on, I need to classify my input data on whether it is a dog or a cat. This is my problem. So when I choose a model, I'll choose a model in such a way that the model will be able to understand what dogs always do and what they do sometimes. Similarly, what cats always do and what they do sometimes. So once this model is chosen, the next is training the model. How do you train the model? Train the model with the data that we have at hand. So I give different images of cats. This is one cat, and train the model to recognize it as a cat. Another cat picture is given, and our model is trained to recognize it as cat. Like this, dog images are given, and the model is trained to recognize it as a dog, and so on. So once I am able to train the model, once my model is ready, my next step is to test the model. So how do I test the model? I give my test data will be I just give it. It is not labeled. Only my training data will be labeled. See, this example that I'm giving you with respect to which machine learning technique. I'm giving it with respect to supervised learning. So the training data which I had given as input is labeled. Now here the test data that I'm giving is, I'm only giving the image, right? This carries no label. My model must be able to provide the label. So once I give the picture, the model should be able to recognize it as cat and label it as cat, right? If I give the picture of a dog, it should be able to say that it is a dog. And finally, once the model is ready, tested, and its performance has been measured, then it is ready for deployment. So this is the last phase of our machine learning model that we have developed. So these 7 steps go into teaching us on how to do machine learning. Define the problem. After you define the problem, you have to get the data, find the data. After you find the data, you clean the data, then you choose a model, and then you train the model, and then you test the model, and finally deploy it. So this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to know on how to do machine learning. So what is our goal? This is where we define our problem. What is the training data that we have? How do we collect it? Okay, how do we get the data set? Is our next question. The third one is, how do we build the model? How do we train the model? Once our model is ready, our fourth question is, how accurate is our model? That is, how well the model is performing. So given a problem, if we are able to answer these questions, and then we are able to say that our model performs good, gives a good accuracy, then we say that we have developed what is our requirement. So that's all on how to do machine learning. Happy learning to all. Thank you.